Waiting for the cam to adjust. Yes. Hey there, this is Schwermetallisch. I'm sitting here with Jason Delbridge of the band Lycanthro, or Lycanthro. Yeah, the TH is a bitch for.
Oh man, you actually pronounced it correctly though. There's people who have. I said in a few of the interviews I've done that I've heard 5 different pronunciations, so you actually said it correctly.
The first one or the second one? Because at first
it's a Lycanthro, I think so. I think it was the second one.
Yeah, it was the second one. All right, because I shortly before the interview I thought maybe the kind of spelling I do won't suffice. That's maybe not right because there's a th in that word. But I thought it sounds awfully it's like Spanish.
Yeah, it's ironic because I'm actually part Latino, so. Yeah, my mom's side of the family are all Cuban, so even though I don't look it, I'm part Latino, so.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know what parts I am. I never asked, but all the stories revolving in Germany, it's almost always the same. It's like yeah, we're German. Everyone's just German. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I also have to say I love the White Snake sticker behind you.
The poster, yeah.
Oh, it's a poster. Oh, I thought it was a sticker. You were blocking the bottom part, so.
Yeah, it's blocked by this. Yeah, that's a desk. On the desk. I needed it like because I've got a scanner here and a light desk which you can use to I don't know what in English. It's like trace lines.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
I'm kind of an wannabe artist. But hey, I got a shirt design for Tom DeWitt. He's a Dutch prog musician, and we're buddies. And I kind of harassed him into taking one of my drawings. Take this! I want to help you. And so yeah, there's one shirt out there on this planet designed by me. That's kind of great.
What band's he from?
The project is just called TDW.
Oh, okay, cool.
Just his name.
Oh,
TDW.
sweet. I'm really glad you brought that up because I'm like, oh yes, a fellow prog nerd is here as well.
Yes. Fuck. I hit something here. Yeah.
Yes, Box Beard, sweet.
Those guys were the heaviest prog I ever witnessed.
Oh yeah, Neil Morse is a genius. I need to listen since his discography is so like dense. I need to listen to more of it, but from what I've heard, I really like. So.
Yeah, he got Transatlantic. He got his solo records. He got lots of Box Beard stuff, and he's a great guy. I would love to interview that dude.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, I love a lot of the newer prog bands. Like Dream Theater, obviously, is one of my favorite bands, but I also love like Haken and Leprous and stuff like that. That stuff's awesome.
So, to not further stride from the main goal of this conversation, you got an upcoming album for June 4th, Mark of the Wolf.
Yes.
And I hope I understood it right that Lycanthro is just kind of short form for someone who's sick of or possessed by a curse that turns him into a wolf.
Yes, yeah, pretty much. The thing with well, it's funny because Lycanthro, the name, it actually is sort of, because the term that you're describing is lycanthrope with a PE at the end. But when we were looking for a new name, because for the first few months when I first started this band, we were still under my old band's name, which was called Death Wish. But then, actually, I'll tell this story on here. So, I remember when I was in college, my old kind of high school band, broke up. We were like those, just a bunch of kids who were happy to be in a band, but, because it's a high school band, all of us ended up hating each other afterwards and stuff like that. So when I got the lineup together that would eventually become Lycanthro, we were called Death Wish for the first few months. And then when I went to this local record store near where I live, I was flipping through the metal section, and I found this album. It was called At the Edge of Damnation. It was by a British band called Death Wish. And I'm like, oh shit. So I bought it, but I was like, guys, I found this in a local record store. We need to change our name. And as I said, the thing with Lycanthro was I wanted to have a name. This is a bit ambitious to try and do this, but I wanted to have a name that literally no other band in the world had. And and I know it's very, very tough nowadays, but I did lots of research, and I wanted to have a name that had to do with wolves or werewolves, because that's like the kind of, I've always liked that kind of stuff, and that's kind of the aesthetic I wanted to go for. So then they, Lycanthrope is like the name you said, is like the scientific name or whatever. And I found there's a bunch of bands already called Lycanthrope. So I thought, oh, take the PE off, Lycanthro. And I'm like, it sounds really cool, it rolls off the tongue, as it were. So that's kind of how how the name happened, because our old name, I was like, oh, there's already like 5 bands called this. Okay.
I'm pretty much into werewolf fandom since the 1988 TV show Werewolf. I think it aired in Germany in 1992 or something like that. And to the audience, Google that. It's fucking great.
I've actually never seen that. I need to check that out.
It's just one season, but it's packed. It's 29 episodes.
Sweet.
And it's like this dude every time he turns into a wolf, he his body reacts to the full moon and showing something like satanic stigmatas. He just gets a bleeding pentagram on the palm of his hand and knows, okay, fuck, I'm gonna turn into a giant werewolf. And he's really big. And the effects were quite decent. It was, I think, one of the first self-produced Fox shows at the time.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. And if we're talking about werewolf movies and TV shows, I actually, audience, I recommend this one to you as well if you've never seen it. My personal favorite werewolf film is probably The Howling. If anyone's never seen The Howling, watch it. That's actually where we... It's funny, our logo is actually very, very similar to the font used in the poster for that film.
Yes.
And it's a great film. It's pretty much about this couple who they go on a mental health retreat to like one of these like rehab centers in California or whatever. But slowly throughout the film, they realize that it's actually a colony of werewolves, and they're all planning to eat them.
Yeah, sounds like my hometown. I never leave the house because I think people want to eat me. There's not enough of meat to be eaten. So I never saw The Howling to be honest, but I for design I would say An American Werewolf in London is pretty epic.
It's a classic. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I hate it if in the TV shows it's yeah, often the case that people talk about werewolves and then you have just someone changing into a wolf, and it's like, what the fuck? That's not a werewolf. The term werewolf is two words, and wer is um, old German for man.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. It's like no, it has to be like a humanoid wolf. It can't just be
yeah,
turning into a regular wolf. That's what like Dracula does, you know? It's
and
like
and I'm not very clever or something like that. I got that from watching Harry Potter.
oh yes, right.
Yes. So yeah, the name is pretty cool, and immediately was drawn to it because I thought, okay, those guys dig wolves, and yeah, I like wolves too, and yeah, power metal and anything related to power metal or clean vocals is up my alley. So that's always nice. Um, yeah, you got your full length in June, 4th of June, ready to launch and rip people to pieces. How was it to record a record during this fucking pandemic?
uh well, it's funny because there was two a lot of it wasn't recorded during the pandemic. It was kind of done in half. It was like so the first all the instrumentals and stuff was done in before the pandemic. Because what happened was is that I always like to joke with this album that this album, even though in the end I think it turned out really well, it's like Spinal Tap. Everything that could have went wrong. So we recorded the instruments before the pandemic, and I got for like half a year I had a throat problem, so I couldn't sing my usual caliber. So, you know, me being stubborn, I was like, okay, you know, just work through it, blah, 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 blah. And so I recorded the vocals for most of the album. Then when we got them, then it took forever to get the mixes back because, and again, this is like no one's fault or anything, but our engineer had a kid while he was making the album, so he had to push the album off, which, you know, I understand. But what happened was, when we got the mixes back, I'm like, man, these vocals sound like shit. So, but by that time, I'd recovered. So I thought, okay, well, there's no studios open because, you know, pandemic. So, fuck it, I'll do it from home because I have like my old recording setup that I had from when I was in school to be an audio engineer. And I bought like a good mic. And yeah, and I recorded, I want to say 6 out of the 8 songs at home, because 2 of them sounded all right. Like 2 of them I actually did earlier, like before I developed this vocal issue. Those were good, so I kept those. And about 6 out of the 8 songs I recorded at home, and it was, man, recording at home during a pandemic honestly sucks. Well, actually, it sucks because I'm someone that I need feedback. I need someone to tell me, oh, that was a good take, or no, that was shit, you know, do it again. Because I think all my takes suck. I'm always just like, oh man, I can do that better. I can do that better. And then you're doing the same line for like 2 hours, you know? Because us singers are so self-loathing and stuff like that. So it's just like, we all think, so that's kind of what was the big challenge for the recording, was just doing the vocals from home, and finally trying to kind of get through my musician self-loathing and try to be like, okay, this is good and this is good. Just move on from here, and it took a while, but it turned out really well. And then the thing I find hilarious is that some of the songs that I recorded at home on my own are some of the ones that people told me they think have the best vocals. And I'm like, really? I don't, because I normally don't trust myself with stuff like that. Like, I usually need someone else's input on it, you know? But yeah, so recording during COVID was both it was both a blessing and a curse because, as I said, the recording vocals at home kind of sucks. But at the same time, with everything else, like recording guitars at home and stuff like that is honestly easier than the studio, I find, because guitars, because when you're a singer, it's your body, it's your throat, it's your body, and your ear isn't really good at gauging how you sound yourself. So that's why you need the other person. Guitar is different. Guitar, literally, you just plug into your recording software, throw an amp simulator on it, play the parts. It's so low stress because, like, guitar players usually in the studio, they're all like, oh god, I forgot how to play the part. You know what I mean? But at home, it's more chill and more relaxed. So I found that depending on the instrument, recording at home during a pandemic has either been really, really easy or really difficult. So, yeah.
What do you have for vocals as a setup?
Oh, I use a classic vocal mic. I use an SM7B, and it's the best vocal mic, all around vocal mic in my opinion. Does the job amazingly, and my setup isn't really that it's not amazing, but it gets the job done really well, and usually it translates well into mixes and all that stuff. So I said I have a SM7B, and I have some Steinberg interface and some Audio-Technica headphones, and I have Pro Tools on my laptop. And that's pretty much it. That's all. I find that for vocals, that's all you need.
I saw a few clips of people using such chamber stuff to stand in a chamber. You can prep yourself, because I think if you do metal vocals in your own flat and you have neighbors, you might have to move after recording.
Yeah. I've actually heard a few creative solutions to that, because as you said, like the chamber, because some people, you can buy these and they're not that expensive, and you have to build them, but you can make what you call personal portable ISO booths. Yeah. So it's they're kind of plasticky kind of things where you kind of build it and then you step into it, and you with your mic and you kind of close it behind you, and that kind of gets rid of some of the sound. Or the other one that I've heard that is a friend of mine used to do this, was he literally used to just record vocals in his closet, since clothes, they absorb the sound really well. So because it's almost like curtains, so I found those, if you're recording vocals at home and if you're recording vocals and you live in a flat or an apartment and you don't want to piss off your neighbors, especially metal vocals, then I think there are ways to get around it for sure.
Yeah, I thought I might buy something like that, and then I saw that the product that was advertised on that page was $500.
Jeez.
And it's I got maybe 100. If I just strip my bank account naked, it would be around $350 or something like that. And it's no, because I don't even have a band.
But you're a vocalist?
No, I tried for years to get into it, but it's fucking hard to get a job in a band. If you
yeah.
Just
for sure, yeah. It's for sure. And vocals, I find, is definitely it is very daunting at first, because there's so many things. As I said, it's not an instrument that you can fix. It's your own body, and it's very. One of my good friends, Paula Blaze from the band Blackguard, said it best. He said, "The voice is a fickle bitch." because you never know. Because this has happened to me. It's happened to everybody. Is that when it comes to vocals, you never know what you're gonna wake up with one day, you know, and because since the voice is so fragile, again, you never know what you're gonna wake up with one day. There have been days where I'm sure with me, and I'm sure with many people, many singers, this has happened, where the day that they have a show or have to go to the studio is the day that they wake up, oh shit, I have a cold now, you know what I mean? It's happened to me before many times, and like even most recently, which this was really a big downer for me, was the last show we played before the pandemic hit. I woke up that day with a very bad cold, and I couldn't sing the set very well. It sucked, and so it was. It's one of those things where it's very daunting. Learning vocals is very. It's almost torturous sometimes, but it's great though. I love doing it. Like I remember my old vocal coach used to say this the best. She said, us vocalists, we live for, you know, when we have a really good performance on stage or we record a really great song and, you know, it sounds awesome and everything's in place. Aside from those two things, being a vocalist fucking sucks.
Would you say, because being a vocalist and using your voice in the performance, would you say that it's a better feeling to have a great day than just having a great day playing guitar?
Yes. Yeah, because guitar, you know, you can unless you break your fingers, you can play guitar anytime, but it's really great to like there's even since here in Ontario we're still in fucking lockdown. There are days where if I'm because there's a few projects that I'm working on right now for vocals, and it's great because if there's a day that my throat doesn't feel that good just from waking up and I got something in there, you know, I'll be like, oh, you know, I won't record today. But if later that day I feel better or I wake up and I feel good to sing, I can literally just rush over here and be like, okay, set up the stuff, let's do it right now, you know, which I find is the benefit of home recording in general, because sometimes, even though you'll get an overall better sound when you're in the studio, there always is the gamble of, oh, the day I'm supposed to go record in the studio is one of the days where my throat doesn't feel that great. And it's happened to me many times. So, you know, it's, that's why, as I said, recording at home is a double-edged sword, because it's way more convenient. And if with the right mixing, it can sound just as good as a studio. But again, there's also as I told you, the thing of, you know, you don't have that other person there to give you feedback, you know. So
yeah, I guess I know exactly what you mean. If you say sometimes you wake up and it's just like, oh fuck, what out is my throat. And I figured, because I'm 40, I'm an old man. I figured sometimes it's really like because snoring is a big fuck up for your vocal cords.
Yeah,
because
it can be.
Everything is dried up through the whole night, and if you wake up and you feel like you have a cold or you get sick for, I don't know, 30 to 60 minutes, you think, okay, fuck, I'm getting sick. But after a bit of coffee or tea and I don't know, breakfast, you realize, no, it was just a combination of snoring and the heater.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that happens to me sometimes, and is, you know, sometimes you can get like stomach acid too. Like that's kind of shitty for the throat and all that. It happens to me quite a bit, and again, it's a very temporary annoyance, but it's when it happens, it's just like
Yeah, heartburn is one of the benefits of getting older, and it's. Do you smoke?
No, I don't smoke.
That is good, because the smoking is a big multiplicator for throat problems and the heartburn problems. If you're eating too hot, uh, like chili con carne, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, we all love it. I think everyone that has problems with acid is is a fan of hot food.
The thing,
Um,
the thing I don't get about the thing I don't get about some vocalists, I've seen this many times, is that I've seen some really amazing singers and they're all heavy smokers, and I'm like, how do you do it? Because I'm like, smoking, I don't smoke, because smoking is like supposed to be like the worst thing for your vocal cords and your lungs, which you need that. But then I know plenty of singers who sound amazing who are heavy smokers. Like one of them is actually one of the ones I met, and since you're a big prog nerd, you probably all know this. One band that I know, they're from Germany. Do you know Subsignal?
yeah,
Yes, Subsignal. I saw them at Prague Power USA in 2019, and I actually got to hang out with them because they were staying at the same hotel as me, and we were like hanging out in the foyer of the hotel drinking, and they're all just really 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 nice guys, and their lead singer Arno is a fucking fantastic singer, but the dude smokes like a chimney though. And I'm like, how do you do it? It's like, how can you sound that good, but then you also are like a heavy smoker? I don't get it,
yeah. Some people can eat tons of chocolate and fries and burgers and stay slim. I don't know how people do that shit.
That you're kind of describing me, man. My diet isn't the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I always try to stay as healthy as possible, and don't get too fat during this pandemic, because I also just hate sports.
Oh yeah, no, I hear you, man. I've never been into sports either. Actually, that depends. I'm into I've never been into group sports because group sports, because when you're in high school, they force you to play them in gym class, and you're on a team with some dick that even though you're on the same team, he'll trip you or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's school sports are often humiliating for people that are not super fit.
Oh yeah. Again, I know, but I always really liked individual sports. I was always really into archery. I used to do archery back when I was in high school, and I was thinking about getting back into it soon because I remember that was something that I really enjoyed. So
shooting stuff, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Shooting stuff. It was great. I remember I wasn't amazing at it, but I want to try it again soon because I remember really enjoying it and thinking, and sports like that or like archery are also a good way to kind of keep you calm and not stressed out, because one thing I remember is when I used to do archery in high school, if I was having a really shitty day, I missed everything because it's one of those sports that in order to hit your target, you have to be the absolute calmest, relaxed you can get, because if you're stressed out, because these things, even the slightest kind of little tinge, you'll set it off and you won't, it'll miss, so it's one of those things. It's definitely an exercise in being in kind of just in relaxation, because you have to be that way in order to hit your target.
Yeah, I'm suing. I'm getting totally calm, and it's almost like meditation if I do stuff like this. And yes, dear audience, that is a patch that says Schwermetallisch.
Sick.
Yeah, I had it made because someday I want to have a vest with multiple patches, just themed. it's I don't know how was that corporate identity stuff like. So you know the McDonald's pants with the M on the butt,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Just a vest with a back patch designed by me, and this little fucker here, I designed this too, and maybe one or two other patches I would design, and if we ever return to gigs, I want to wear that.
So what you're saying is that you're gonna make some so like McDonald's, some pants with the SM on it as well, eh?
Maybe.
Oh, but man, I'll tell you though, man. It's like obviously, we all miss gigs and all that, but I've always been very us people here in North America. I've always been very envious of you guys in Germany because you guys just get so much better shows over there than we do.
Yeah, but sometimes it's like, you Canadians and American people won't understand what I'm saying. I'm telling you right now. But if I have to drive 2 hours for a gig, I won't. I'm staying at home.
Really?
Yeah, because our country is it's relatively small, and okay, you can travel across with a train or with a bus or a subway, but when I have to travel 2 hours to a location, and I know I'm gonna be blackout drunk after that gig and have to get home another 2 hours. The probability says I won't attend. I won't attend.
Yeah. We've actually gotten used to driving long distances for gigs here because where I'm from, Ottawa, even though Ottawa is like the capital, we don't get a lot of really great gigs here. All the big metal bands usually, like, some will come here, but it's usually Montreal, Toronto, and Montreal is closer, which it's 2 hours. So there's been many times where there'll be a band who like never comes here, and they went to only Montreal. So I'm like, you know what? I can drive to Montreal because I'm someone that, like, I'm not a huge drinker. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I can drive to Montreal. We can see the show and drive back in a night. It's done it before. It's easy, and that's what you have to do, I find, here, because a lot of bands, like, for example, like, one of my favorite German bands is Avantasia, and they came to Montreal. It was like the only date on their Canadian tour, and I'm like, I'm not fucking missing Avantasia, so I'm gonna drive to Montreal with my friends, see the show, and then drive back afterwards, and we get home at like 2-3 a.m. But it's not a big deal for me because I'm someone that I stay up till stupid hours anyways. So.
But you got a car, right?
Yeah.
I don't have a car or a license, and I would have to travel by train, and I don't know why this is the case, but some locations to get there you have to pay hard cash. It's like I have to pay $50 for the ticket, and I have to pay 30 to get there. And that's like, yeah, okay. I don't have a big budget for stuff like that, but this is gonna change after the pandemic because I will say fuck it.
Yeah, that's one thing that I will say that because one of the questions that I always get with these, that a lot of people ask, with these like interviews and all that, is that like, oh, what do you think the music scene will be like, after the pandemic? And what you just said kind of reflects that there'll just be a gigantic boom period. People who used to make excuses to not go to shows before, they're like, yep, 3 hours away, I don't fucking care. I have to, So, like, to the point where it's like, I remember, because the state, like, I don't know if you know this, but the states are opening up faster than we are because they're, like, having more vaccines out. So I even said to myself, I'm like, okay, once the border opens and I get both my jabs, if there are shows in the States, I'll fucking go. I don't care. 8-hour drive, I don't care, you know? So
yeah, it's just that I even miss buying merch at a live gig.
Yeah.
Because it's so much cooler than doing this online. I cannot tell you how many times I was at an online shop and my cart was full, and it was like, no, I'm not buying, because there's something in my head which stops me from buying stuff.
Well, I know what you mean, man, and also just because, especially nowadays, like I find that people, when it comes to merch, people now are a bit more forgiving if things are a bit more expensive because, you know, pandemic. But I do agree with you that sometimes the shipping on some of the stuff is stupid. And again, that's obviously not the band's fault. It's just like, you know, the postal service is literally just like, okay, we're gonna make the most amount of money we can during this, so we're gonna up the shipping prices. Freaking. So,
yeah.
I actually remember ordering like a few months ago. I ordered a CD from a German musician that I follow called. Do you know? She's not metal, but do you know who? You know Patty Gurdy? She's this like German kind of folk musician who plays hurdy-gurdy, and she's been on a few metal records too as well. And I really dig her stuff. And I bought her CD, and sorry about that. That was my stupid phone. Oh my god, shut up.
Never happens to me because my friends don't call me.
If any of you were watching, forget. But yeah, no. I remember when I ordered it was just a CD. The shipping was more than the CD itself actually costed, yeah. And it was stupid to the point where I remember when I got it, the people who the company who distributes her merch emailed me and said, "Hey, we understand that the shipping was terrible, so we're giving all the people who did pre-orders for this album, I think it was like 50% off, like it was either 50 or 75% money back for the shipping, which is really cool." And and that's what I mean is that, like, I agree with you that, like, now's the time I find where you should support all these bands more and more, because, you know, a lot of them had tours canceled and shows canceled and stuff like that. So anyone who buys stuff online is greatly appreciated, but at the same time, I totally get that the shipping sucks, you know?
Yeah, I'm at retraining at the moment, so I don't actually have a job. I'm an intern at the moment at a internet security company, and I'm finished with retraining next year in May. So when I'm finished and I have a job, I will have way more money. I think $300-400 more a month, and yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
That means merch.
Oh yeah, man. One thing that I remember did happen too, and this is one thing that also does kind of suck, is that, like, this has only ever happened to me once, but again, just because of the crappy state of the postal service at the moment, like merch not showing up, like stuff like one thing that I've heard from a lot of people I know who work for labels is that, like, people who like to get vinyl, they've been suffering because the vinyl production plants are only working at like 5% of the output that they were before. So vinyls are taking longer and longer to be made. Like, there's a label here in the States from Chicago that I follow called Transcending Records. I order from them all the time, and I remember thinking, like, I pre-ordered a record from them in November. It was supposed to come out in on like March 1st. It is now in May, and it still hasn't shown up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel bad for a lot of these people because it's not anyone's fault, but it's just a crappy situation.
If you order on Bandcamp at the moment, and you order, I did order from Germany, from a German band, for two German bands, and the patches will arrive approximately not later than the 25th of May. And it was like, I think it was Saturday, so it was 3 days ago. So they almost need 3 weeks to ship this fucking shit from Germany to Germany. So you think, okay, and one of those bands comes from a city nearby even. It's like 25 minutes with a train.
Yeah, seriously. It's
what?
See, that's actually what I started doing is on our merch store. Actually, we've by the way, for those of you watching, lycanthrommerch.bigcartel.com, pre-order the new album Mark of the Wolf, all that stuff. There we go. I just sold my soul there. There we go. But
yeah, watch those shirts. They are killer.
Oh yeah, the shirts are. I just got them in like today. I just got them today. They're right here behind. They're right here behind me. But one thing I started doing too, just to like kind of combat that, as you said, 25 minutes down the road by train, is I actually started posting, like whenever I made a post about merch, I'd always say like, let me know if you are ordering and you live in the city, because then I'll give you a code that will, free shipping, because you don't need to ship it. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, that's great. By the way, who did the artwork for the new record, Mark of the Wolf?
Yeah, it was an Italian guy. His name is Vilio Giusto, and I really liked his work. He did he's done art for a lot of the sort of bigger, like, underground metal bands. Like the most well-known bands he's done artwork for was like he did some for Riot V. He did some for Enforcer, and Riot V, Enforcer, Iron Angel, Mystic, stuff like that. Like a lot of the
Riot and Enforcer are both bands I really, really love.
Oh yeah, they're fantastic. Absolutely. Like Thundersteel is one of the best power metal albums ever made. But and I hit him up.
Inishmore was very nice too. They had a different singer at that time, but Inishmore is really, really great.
Which album is it?
It's called Inishmore. I think it's a Scottish name, city, lake, stuff. I can write you the name. One moment, please.
Yeah,
check that out.
Well, yeah, Riot is. There we go. Sweet.
That is correct. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, but yeah, no, Riot is. The artist. He did an amazing job, and the thing I usually do with the album art for our stuff is, I'm no artist myself at all. I'm not that good at drawing. So usually what I do is I'll draw like a really crappy kind of mock-up of it, and I'll send it to whoever I think would make it, how they could do it justice. And I'll pretty much say, okay, here's what I want, make it look better. And with this guy, literally all it was a photo of a werewolf. I drew a picture of a werewolf, and he had kind of like a gleam in his eye right here, and he had the mark of the wolf kind of burnt into his hand. That's all it was. I said, okay, here's what my idea. Do something with it. And the thing I love about a lot of these artists, Vilio included, was sort of like the things they come up with themselves that make the art that much better. Like, for example, on the Mark of the Wolf cover, he had the idea to like, you just sent me a photo of the wolf. He has to be somewhere. So you see him in the background. He's in this like mountain pass. On one side of him, there's a trail. The other side of him, there's like a waterfall. And the mark that's like burnt into his hand is like in the sky behind him. and I'm like, oh man, I would have never thought of any of that. That's sweet, so.
Yeah, it really stands out because we live in a day and age where it is not a shame anymore if your album artwork is really crappy.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I've seen some really bad ones for sure in recent times.
But I have to say that if it's really bad or if it's really fucking cheesy, I almost always want to listen to the music, and it's, I don't know, 50 to 75%. It's like, yeah, that's fucking great.
Yeah, for sure. Although one thing that I always find is that I personally think that a lot of bands, and they shouldn't be like this, I find a lot of bands are kind of lazy with the art. Like, not bad per se, but like, I'll see an artwork for an album and I'll just be like, oh, come on, you could do better than that. Like, there was one, again, I won't mention any names, but there was one that I saw from a band here in Ottawa where it was literally just it wasn't even a logo, it was the band name and the album name printed in not printed, it was in like a font, in like a really basic
Times New Roman.
Yeah, pretty much Times New Roman, and it was on like a background that looked like a metal wall, and like you just like and I'm just like, man, come on, like, do something better than that. That's so freaking lazy. Like, come on, you can make that in Photoshop in like 2 minutes,
Yeah, I have to say, I cannot work with Photoshop. I'm just too stupid to understand the stuff with the layers and shit like that.
Oh yeah?
I really tried, but I'm quite decent at drawing stuff. So and we live, today it's possible to just take this and say, okay, this is a t-shirt shop. You just take these scans and bam, it's a shirt. A few years ago, that was impossible. It was like, yeah, you cannot put this on a shirt because every form has to be closed, and you have to, I don't know what it means in English. It's freistellen. So you have to if you make a photo of yourself in your living room and you don't want to people to see your living room, you just want to have the shape of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So to erase the rest, that is freistellen in Photoshop.
Oh yeah, I think over here that's like what's the word term for that here? I think you can say cropping. I think.
Yeah, cropping. I think it's
sure
that,
that's cropping. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, but like I find that, especially in metal, you should have, one thing that, again, I can see why bands back in the day did this, but I don't know what, but I was never a fan of it, is that I don't really like album covers that are like, not just lazy, but they're also like, I find that it has to be like a really nice work of art. I'm not really a fan of album covers that show like a photo of the band on the front, I'm like, no, I want to see what this album kind of represents. I want to hear the music, and when I hear the music, I want, like, okay, yeah, that fits with the album cover. I've never really been a fan of like the glam bands back in the day, where I love glam, don't get me wrong, I love like Cinderella and all them, but I'm not a fan of like the album covers where it was like just a picture of the band on the front with the logo, and I'm like, oh, come on, it's so boring. That's so boring, like the band photos for the back,
Yeah, I think that the epitome of great metal covers is just Priest and Maiden.
Yeah, pretty much. Or yeah, Priest, Maiden, most of the power metal bands, like, come on, Halloween and Blind Guardian always had great album covers.
Yeah, that's right. So to come back to some questioning, what is the favorite track of Mark of the Beast?
Mark of the Wolf, you mean?
Maybe. Mark of the Wolf Beast.
Mark of the Wolf Beast.
Wolf Beast was a way cool band name. Please both.
Probably. I'd probably say the single that's out right now, Crucible, because that's the song that, like, at least on this album, that we're the most proud of, and it was technically the very first song written for Lycanthro. I wrote it when the band first started, and that's the one song that everyone tells us is their favorite, and we play it every show. That's the one song that we never take off the set list, and we always either open or close with it. And yeah, and the reception for the single so far has been incredible. And like, we just hit, like, a day ago, we just hit over 2,000 streams of it on Spotify. And
Not
so
bad.
yeah, it's one of those songs that everyone who listens to it's because the reason why that's my favorite song off the album is because it's a song that, and this just kind of goes to my philosophy of songwriting in general, is it's a song anybody can enjoy. Like, my first big influence when I got into music was Queen, and with Queen, you knew they never wrote the same song twice. You know what I mean?
No.
And not just that, but all their songs, no matter what style it was, most people could listen to it and like it. You know what I mean? It was very accessible. And so I want to, with our stuff, I try and do the same thing, but in the medium of power metal. And so, like, for example, with Crucible, it's melodic, which, you know, the power metal, and it has high vocals, which the power metal fans will like. But the guitars and the drums are like, and the riffs are really, really heavy that, like, people like thrash metal fans will like, and speed metal fans will like, and stuff like that, you know. And also, and I find, like, old school metalheads will like it, and even some people who are into extreme metal might even like the riffs and stuff like that. Because when I wrote that song, I tried to make the guitars very, like, they're very much like death inspired, like very kind of Chuck Schuldiner-y kind of inspired guitar licks in there. So yeah, like, I always try and make all of our songs, like, very, like, so there's something for everyone on there, and I think Crucible kind of encapsulates that for us as a band. It kind of shows, yeah, this is who we are, this is all the elements that we have in our stuff. So yeah, so I think that's probably the favorite song on the album for sure.
Yeah, great. So, if everything opens up again and you can finally gig again, what would be the band you would like to tour with, or bands, plural?
Blind
Blind
Guardian.
Guardian.
Easy,
Yeah.
easy. They're Blind Guardian are, like, probably one of my favorite bands of all time, and Hansi is like he's like in my top 3. He's like one of my vocal heroes, and I got to meet him actually at Prog Power USA last year, and very, very nice guy, very sweet guy. And yeah, no, Blind Guardian I think would be my band I'd love to tour with, just because I think we'd be a good fit as well, like, in terms of, like, our styles and all that, because I think it'd be a good, even though, like, our styles aren't completely the same, we're, like, very, very much inspired by, like, Blind Guardian's style of, like, oh, it's melodic power metal, but it's still really heavy, and also it's a little bit proggy as well, too, you know, so, and that's all the kind of stuff I like, so yeah, I'd say Blind Guardian is definitely my number one pick. Halloween, obviously, stuff like that. Just bands who we are, bands that kind of we've been not compared to, but, like, we like to think that we sound like. So, like, Blind Guardian, Halloween. I think those are the main ones I could say. Dream Theater would be sweet, even though we don't sound anything like them. But yeah.
So if Hansi is in your top 3 of best vocalists or favorite vocalists, I guess the other 2 are Ronnie James Dio and Freddie Mercury?
Close. Freddie Mercury is one of them, not Dio. I love Dio, but Rob Halford.
Ah, okay.
Rob Halford,
Yeah.
because Rob Halford was the biggest inspiration behind my vocals for sure. Like, him and Hansi. Like, Freddie Mercury's up there just because of, like, he's the one who made me want to become a singer, but I don't sing anything like Freddie Mercury, you know what I mean? I tried to emulate the style of Rob Halford, Hansi, you know, those kinds of singers, the really high singers who have a little bit of grit in their voice, you know. That's what I try and emulate. But Freddie, I don't sing anything like him. I just put him there because he was like the original, like he was my first, him and Brian May, the guitar player from Queen, those were the two when I first saw them. I'm like, I want to be a singer, I want to be a guitar player. And I'm like, why not both? So,
Yeah.
yeah, so those three are definitely my top singers as well. But there's other ones that are like really big influences to me are like Eric Adams from Manowar.
Oh yeah.
And Toby Sammet from Ed Guy and Avantasia, and I could say Leather Leone from Chastain.
You know the new singer of Riot City?
I know Riot City. Yeah. They're from Calgary. Yeah. They're great. Yeah. They're sweet.
The singer from the first full length is still singing, but he's also playing guitar, and they have a brand new vocalist that is just doing vocals. And it was like, I never saw them live before, and we saw them in March 2020, before the lockdown. And he sounds like Eric Adams.
Really?
In his 20s.
Oh man, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
that was a kind of yeah. I was standing there with my brother, and it was like,
Eric Adams.
did you hear that? Yeah, I'm here. I'm right here.
Oh yeah.
Whoa,
and in terms of like but in terms of some other vocalists, as I said, I'm also really inspired by like a lot of the women in metal at the moment, because a lot of them are just doing such interesting things vocally that a lot of people haven't done before. Like, I always say Adrienne Cowan from Seven Spires is one of them. She's one of my biggest influences for sure. She sings in Avantasia as well, actually. So her and Brittany Slays from Unleash the Archers, and Sara Squadrani from Ancient Bards, and Leather Leone from Chastain, you know. So, like, I kind of have like a 50-50 of I don't really like kind of give a shit about the gender usually. So, like, but all those ones I just mentioned are all like probably like my top favorite singers.
Yeah, I need to listen to more female vocals.
Yeah, like, well, that's one thing I will say is that now, especially in bands nowadays, a lot of the chick vocalists are the ones who are doing a lot of the most interesting stuff, because they're adding in all these different styles into metal and they make it work. You know what I mean? Like they add in all these different things that guys don't typically do, and they make it work, and it sounds really cool, and it sounds very like it's very unique, very different. So.
Yeah, but some also incorporate stuff into their rock or stoner or metal sound, which I sometimes feel doesn't belong there, because it sounds totally contrary to the rest of the music. I reviewed a band. I'm not naming them, but the vocalist was doing she sounded a bit flat, but she tried to mask her lack of ability, her lack of air. You know, if you sing, it's like some people have that they can hold a tune really long and powerful, and she just sounded like she's out of breath all the time, and she did these rather poppy Beyonce stuff, like and you know these she what is the word for doing something over and over again?
Oh, it's really redundant. Just really redundant.
Yes.
Like really repetitive. Yeah. I know what you mean, but I find that's not really more of a. I find that's not really a gender thing. I think that's more of just an amateurish thing. Like it's like I actually learned this yesterday because I did because I still do vocal training, and I learned this yesterday that like one of the things I learned, because that's actually something I used to have an issue with a lot and still do somewhat, is breathing properly. And one thing that, and it can be really hard, and one of the things that it's as you mentioned, is that breathing properly, it can make or break it, because as you said, they sound really flat and out of key because they're not breathing properly. And yeah, that always happens. Like, I don't know if this was her problem, but my problem was always I used to breathe in too much. I used to breathe in like everything, and then I'd sing, and then I'd wonder why my voice was all and then it was like, oh, and then my vocal coach was like, oh, you're breathing in too much. I'm like, you can do that? He's like, yeah, you breathe in too much. It's just as bad as not breathing in at all, you know? So
damn.
Yeah, it's weird. You have to have like that really fine balance. Like you don't breathe in the same thing for every vocal line, you know? You breathe in just what you need. I find that he told me that the only time that you need to breathe in completely, like 100%, is if you're like a Broadway singer and you're singing, like holding one note really long. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay,
but
I got it.
If you're not doing that, then you don't need to breathe in 100% all the time.
Yeah, that's I'm just doing this as a hobby sometimes, and as I understand it, this if you breathe in too much, you lose control over the output, not right away, but in the end, because there's still too much pressure coming out of your lungs.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. That's complete. That's correct. And the other thing that happens too is not only do you lose control of the pitch and all that stuff, and as you say, what comes out of your lungs, but you'll get very lightheaded afterwards. Like there were many times where I would do a take and I would feel like I want to pass out. And I remember my vocal coach saying, "Yeah, you shouldn't feel that. You shouldn't feel like you want to pass out after you do a vocal line. Like that's if you get really lightheaded, you're doing it wrong."
Yeah, if you die, you did it wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong. So yeah, I'm at last I'm out of questions, and yeah, I have no more questions to ask and no more things to tell. But I thank you very much for taking the time for this, more of a chat.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for having me, man. Like I said, I like doing these kinds of things. Like as I said, I do like these. I know yours is recorded, but I do like these sort of live chats on Instagram all the time, and I really like the format, you know. So thank you very much for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
I intend to do stuff like that too in the future, but I need someone to talk to me because in the worst case I would sit there talking and nobody would listen and nobody would talk back, and it would be rather embarrassing for me. Well, people would think I'm a crazy person, maybe. Hey, he's talking to himself. Cool. Yeah. Unsubscribe.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you very much for having me, though, man. I really appreciate it. This was fun.
Yeah, this was fun. I wish you a happy day. you got 2 or 3 o'clock now, and it's nightfall.
Nightfall.
I was thinking of Iced Earth to be honest.
Oh right, yes.
Was it called Nightfall? Yeah, it was the night. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess before I go, everyone watching, new album Mark of the Wolf out June 4th. Pre-order it at lycanthromerch.bet. No, not Bandcamp. Well, yeah, Bandcamp if you're into digital, but physical and all of our merch and all that. lycanthromerch.bigcartel.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, all that good stuff.
yeah, follow his socials, the band's socials, and of course my socials.
Yes, follow his socials too.
Okay.
And I follow and can you say the name because I don't want to butcher it.
Yeah, it's Schwermetallisch.
Yes. Follow him too. He does great interviews and chats. He interviewed one of my absolute favorite singers the other day, Liaren, obviously. So, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, man, anytime. And again, thanks for having me.
Yeah, if something new comes up, just hit me up and we can do another one.
Yeah, absolutely, man, for sure.
Okay, so have a nice day and yeah, until next time.
All right, see you, bud.
Bye bye.